Today we'll be exploring what it means to be vegetarian or vegan in 2012 by looking at their public and social representation and how that affects them personally. To do this, I'll be looking at animal rights charity PETA to get their opinion on vegetarian and vegans' representations in society and how they are getting involved through attending one of their demonstrations, as well as the effect of celebrity involvement. Also, I'll be attending the West Midlands Vegan Festival to gain more personal insight. But what is the typical representation of a vegetarian or vegan?
I guess one image that comes to mind when you think of a vegetarian is maybe boiled vegetables and just eating fruits off trees. And vegetarianism is a bit hippie-like, peace towards the animals and equal rights for all the animals, and it might be a bit airy-fairy and something that hippies were doing many years ago.
Why do vegetarian and vegans believe they're perceived this way?
Because quite often, they being fed information which is false, or they just didn't realise, didn't think about something.
But people just don't think that extra mile.
I think, again, it comes back to a lot of misconceptions. People view vegetarianism and veganism in a certain way. There is a certain stereotype, but certainly it's not an accurate stereotype.
How does this representation affect their lives in a practical day-to-day basis?
Some people, maybe family and friends, just don't understand the concept of veganism.
There are always still people who don't understand because they've just been brought up with a very different set of values.
Again, I think it's just a lot of misunderstanding, misconceptions. People have a certain idea of what it is to be veg or vegan.
I have never really felt that to justify my choice or feel different. I think we are part of the same community, and we don't have to feel that we're a different community.
Sometimes people get a bit defensive, but normally that's because deep down they don't want to be involved with the cruelty. Some people just have no idea, so it seems something odd to them.
And if your family isn't really supportive, then you could also give them leaflets, you could point them to websites, particularly for youth. There's maybe an issue where their parents may actually tell their children what to do.
I can understand how it could be difficult, and people obviously you don't want to fall out with family and friends, but again I think it's really a case of just sitting down and explaining what your reasons are.
From my point of view, when I used to tell people I was a vegetarian, people can accept that. When you tell people you're a vegan, it's like you're really testing their own values, and they're actually quite hostile towards you sometimes. Even though I would never say to somebody, "Why are you eating that burger?" They will say to me, "Why are you a vegan? But why? I don't understand." They really question it, but I think that's their own fear.
We're very much, we're normal, everyday people. We just don't eat animal products,
I mean, from a vegan point of view, you really start looking at what's in your food then. Not just meat, not just the obvious. You start looking at things like crisps. So like, this crisp has got milk in, and you go, why? Why would you put milk in that? Or why would you put gelatin in sweets when you don't need to? And I think people don't realise exactly how much of the animal manufacturing industry or food industry is in our everyday foods, and it just doesn't need to be in. Even cakes. I mean, I go to a lady in Brixton called Miss Cupcake who does vegan cupcakes. They're the nicest cakes I've ever had. They taste better than anything with dairy in.
Given this sentiment, is it the responsibility of those in the public eye that are vegetarian and vegan to speak out to try and change this representation for a more acceptable view?
But I think a lot of it comes from celebrities and people who are big in the media, who a lot of people will look to for ideas, and they're influenced by them. And I think these people play a really key role in changing people's ideas.
I think vegans were really harshly judged up until recently, and I think the more celebrities have come out, like say Russell Brand and Katie Brand have just done, and Woody Harrelson is a vegan, I think Steve O is. I think that makes people go, oh well, they're really cool people, and they're not unhealthy, so maybe it is easy to be a vegan.
This is obviously helped along by celebrities, people like Paul McCartney, Pamela Anderson, who vegetarian and vegan, and the fact that they're willing to speak out about their dietary choice and the suffering that the animals go through on factory farms. I just think that has quite a significant influence on people.
definitely people in the public eye should come out and make it more accessible and make people see that just because you're a vegan, it doesn't mean to say that you're unhealthy or that you're like too skinny or that you're always ill. In fact, you're less ill. I think I've put weight on since I've been a vegan.
In some ways you might say because they're in the public eye, it's obviously great for charities like Peter if they do put their views forward.
What sort of effect has this had on representation, and what does the future hold?
I think it's today, vegetarian vegan diet becoming a lot more mainstream, a lot more popular. It really is so easy. A lot of people think it's hard, but once you give it a go, you see how easy it is.
I think so. I think times have changed. When I became a vegetarian many years ago, it was very difficult, and I felt like I had to defend myself all the time. And I'm sure that vegans at that time probably had an even harder time. But now it's everywhere. It's on internet, it's on TV, there are cookbooks, there are so many recipe books that you can buy that are completely vegetarian. It's actually really mainstream, I think. Veganism is becoming more known as well. If you now say, I'm vegan, most people know what it means.
Obviously, the meat, egg and dairy industries aren't providing all the information to people, showing them the reality of what goes on, because if they did, they stand to lose money. Once people saw the horrific suffering going on factory farms, less likely to be eating the animal products. So obviously the big industries who could be providing information have a vested interest not to, which again is why it's so important that charities like Peter are getting the information out there to people, showing them the videos from undercover investigations and providing all the information, which to some extent is obviously being hidden from the public. As these diets becoming more mainstream and more popular, then the portrayal in the popular media is becoming more positive.
More and more people are concerned about animals and the environment and their own health these days. I think that's really mainstream.
The work that animal charities are doing, and of course the celebrity involvement, celebrity endorsement, things like that. I think veganism is still a little less well known, but vegetarianism is just so mainstream now. Just essentially meat-free diets are being represented in a more positive light now in the media.
That is a brief look at the representation and some of the resulting issues of the subcultural group of vegetarian and vegans.